All right, I'll call to order at 7:03. Tonight, we're gonna have the school department and then eventually IT, hopefully. They'll pop in. Tracy, Tim's the new facilities guy from the school.
Hey, Tim.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And all right, you have the floor, you two.
Great. I can kick us off. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Christine Bethagner. I'm the school business administrator for Wakefield Public Schools. I'm in year 3, but due to COVID, I feel like I've been here 30 years. It's been something. Tim joined the school department in August, and he's been just such a value added to Wakefield Public Schools. I don't know if you know, I'm going to brag a little bit about Tim right now, but he actually went to Wakefield High School as an alum, and just brings a lot of skills and talents. And I'm just thrilled to have him aboard as a facilities director. And he put together some information for you tonight to consider for our capital plan. So with that, I'll hand it off to Tim.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate all that. Yeah, and like I said, so I'm new this year, and I'm doing my best getting started. And prior to this year, I was never in a Zoom meeting in my life, so I'm still getting adjusted to how that all works. And I'm not sure if you all have a copy of the capital request sheet.
Will be this?
That's the one. All right, excellent. So I'll just, I can briefly go through each line, and then if anyone has any questions, if you want to stop me, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go start with your tier ones, go right down the list.
All right. So starting with the tier ones, and these are organized by priority within tiers as well. So starting with tier 1, district-wide, this was something that was brought up last year as well, but it's HVAC recommissioning. That's something that we've been working on, pretty much day in, day out in the age of COVID. We're constantly bringing in, whether it be Mike Roberto from the town or other vendors to ensure that our HVAC systems are working properly. Working with new vendors for replacement of filters and using different styles of filters and those sort of things. So that would be where we'd be looking for $25,000 on that line. Next, moving down to the Dalbear School. This is something I would say, with the handoff from Bob, this was a big mention from him, something that he was really trying to work hard to get done. And that's to add badge readers at the CAF entrance and the 3rd front door entrance, which is the kindergarten entrance at the Dalbear School. Just from a functionality of the building standpoint, I'm not sure, if there was a reason why these doors weren't added in the beginning. But so just for an example, the cafe entrance is, if you're looking at the Dalbear from Lowell Street, on the right-hand side near where the dumpsters are. So our custodians are going in and out of those doors 20 plus times a day. And rather than having to pin the door open and, letting the heat or the air conditioning out of the building, we'd be able, naturally be able to allow those doors to shut. But like I said, just from a functionality of the building standpoint, both of those doors really need to have those badge readers. We did have a few different vendors come in to give us quotes, and it's in the $20,000 range at this point. Moving down, then that's something that was asked for previously but denied, but it does become apparent as time rolls on that is a need. At the Greenwood School, we'd be looking for split air conditioning units for the classrooms. Last year, we did the administrative area, the principal's office and the main office. Buildings division did that install, which kept costs down, and that has been a major value add for them. We're looking at adding the same systems in 10 classrooms, We estimate that cost. I spoke with Mike Roberto about this at length. We estimate that cost around $100,000. So we have 10 classrooms. As I understood it from Mike, we'd be looking to put 2 larger units on the roof. And then there would be 10 individual units in the classrooms. Doing it this way would keep costs down and also, allow us to do it without using, the regular, air conditioning, ventilation systems, that sort of thing. In a building, an old building like Greenwood, it gets incredibly hot, even when it's not particularly hot outside. With no moving air in that building, it gets hot early. And when without it, it really kind of takes Greenwood off the table for any summer programs or rentals or anything like that. So this will give us the ability to possibly either run summer student programs or have the ability to generate some revenue via rentals in the warmer months. Moving down, the next one is for Wakefield High School. The Ventrac SSV, the sidewalk snow vehicle. The DPW has one of these in their buildings division, a piece of equipment that they rave about, and I've seen in action, and we actually purchased one last year for the Galvin Middle School, which has been a major value add for us this winter. It really has sort of changed the game for us when it comes to snow. I mean, in a 2-foot snowstorm, previously we'd have a couple of snow blowers going at once. And this it really reduces the time that we're there, the costs of overtime, and it could save us from a myriad of things, but one of those things included is possible injuries. So in my opinion, the more equipment that we have to remove snow from these larger buildings, the more we'll cut down on overtime and injuries and things of that nature. Obviously the DPW does a wonderful job, and the hired contractors as well. But we just want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward and getting these jobs done in a timely fashion. And we definitely need the appropriate equipment to do that. Looking ahead to a possible new high school, I think if we go into that building project with one of these vehicles for the high school, we could possibly add an additional vehicle in the future and have one that we could move around the district as needed. That's down the road, but we'd be looking similar costs to the last one we purchased, is around $30,000. That is tier 1. I don't know if anybody has any questions, or if you want me to just keep rolling through.
Tim, refresh us, well, you weren't here, but is the Dalbear readers, is that just to add the 3? Or do you need to upgrade the current ones so that all of them will talk? Or is it just basically plugging in 3 to the current system?
Yeah, it would be just adding 3 to the current system. There's, based on the design of the Dalbear, if you walked into the front door of the Dalbear and looked up, there's some interesting wiring that has to be done based on the height of that entryway. So that's some of the complications of that install. But yes, that would be just the addition of the 3 that would plug and play with the existing system.
And this is as much, Tim, this is as much security as anything else? Is this part of the security system?
Yeah, so it does. It ties into American Alarm is the current vendor who has done those installs for us in the past. And they are one of the people that we got the quotes from to do this install. I think absolutely, it all plays into the security of the building.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and like I've said, just in a general functionality of the building, it's sort of odd that those systems don't already exist.
Yeah, we had this on the list last year as a tier 3, actually.
Yeah, and I've spoken I've heard a lot from teachers, custodians, as well as Mr. Liberty, who the principal at Dalbear. And it just seems like it's a reoccurring theme, something that continues to come up, and has definitely increased in importance, in their opinion, over the past year.
Mhm.
Okay. Two other questions on the HVAC recommissioning. This is an annual, I know it was denied. This would conceivably be an annual request. You would rotate through one HVA system each year for 7 years.
Correct.
That's the idea. Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure that, looking at our results for what we have for air quality testing after the work that we did in the, since the onset of COVID, the air quality inside these buildings looks great, and we want to keep it that way. And it seems that this is kind of a best practice in order to do that.
Okay, and the 25,000 is for all 7
So
systems, or one per, is it 25,000 per system per year?
just 25,000 per year. We think that would allow us to make the necessary, repairs and improvements year to year. So it would just be the 25 a year reoccurring.
Okay, so you'd be requesting this each year.
Correct.
7
When-
years though, because it's 7 schools.
Right, 7 schools, so
Right.
it's 7, so it's, we skip a year, we skip a school. Or just lower the list, move down the list a little bit.
Right. I mean, it just skip a year. We wouldn't be able to, I guess, do as much as we might be able to if we did have that allocation.
Okay, if I may, just the last question I will have on this, the Ventrac sidewalk snowplow. It sounds like this would be the second one in the system, in the district.
Correct.
This is a naive question on my part, but is there any reason why the Galvin machine cannot service both locations?
So
Transportation being a problem, I would imagine, maybe.
sure,
But
we don't own a trailer or anything that I could move the machine around with. The other problem there is we're all coming to school at the same time.
yeah,
So I wouldn't, for me to move that vehicle once the Galvin is completed up to the high school, we'd now be hours behind the 8 ball and the snow cleanup. So really the nature of it is we have to coordinate the snow removal process on all buildings, all 7 facilities at the same time in order to be able to open school. I certainly understand where you're coming from on that, but it wouldn't be able to work that way for us, just the nature of the animal that the school system is.
and I suppose would be crossing jurisdictional lines if the town, because the town has at least one of these machines too, I think. Is that right, Joe?
Yes, yep.
Um,
So the only difference in our approach, we do have the means to move ours around. So our machine right now, when the building staff goes out and removes snow, they're doing town hall, both public safety buildings, the parking stalls in front of the Albion Cultural Building, the Greenwood parking meters. They're all over the place. And like Tim was saying, if Tim's staff or the school staff is out doing snow, we're out doing snow at the same time.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. If nobody has any other questions, I can move down to tier 2. All right. So the Woodville School, we have over the past 2 years, as I understand it, I know this past summer, we did replace a motor on the rooftop air conditioning unit at the Woodville. This is a unit, as I understand, is original to the building. we're beginning to see costly, failures of certain components on this rooftop unit. So, I've been encouraged by multiple, Jake and as well as Mike on the DPW Buildings Division, that this is something that we need to really begin to think about replacing. As they tell me, it's right this moment, it's not emergent, but that we're seeing a trend of failing components. So it's something that we certainly need to, if not this year, start looking at soon. And it is a costly replacement at, estimated to be around $210,000 to replace. But just for perspective, every time we do have to replace a component of this rooftop unit, we have to hire a crane to come in and lift that piece up to the roof and bring down whatever we've replaced. So, it does make it a little bit more complicated to make those repairs, although, naturally we'll continue to do that until it's replaced. Moving down to the Walton. We are looking at that's kind of next up on the playground replacement. I know this was something that was looked at last year. I actually ran into Dennis Fazio today. He was with a gentleman from one of the playground equipment companies, and they were looking at Walton, looking at the size and doing some measurements there. But the estimate is about $150,000 to replace that. It's aging. They'd be looking at redoing the surface as well to be ADA compliant. We do have a ramp there at the Walton on the current play structure that has sort of become, it needs constant attention to keep it, safe and secure. So it's something that I've got my eyes on often, and the DPW Buildings Division has been very helpful at making sure that that's a safe structure. But it would, it's certainly due for replacement.
Tim, if I could interject just for 1 second.
Sure.
So some of the feedback I got from Dennis this morning, he was out with O'Brien and Sons looking at that. Actually, when they did the building addition, they encroached on the fall zone to this.
Okay.
I know I said it last year, as well as Bob, and I'll repeat it again. It's in my staff's opinion that if we do any playgrounds, this one is the priority this year around, and that this is the one that gets replaced. I will say though, I would add $10,000 to that number. The only reason being is the current construction of that playground right now, it's lagged into a concrete pad. So what we would do is, if funded, my group would go in and demo it. We pull the pads out and basically create a blank canvas similar to what we did at the Greenwood School, so that the playground company come in, do their work, and pour the rubber flush so it's all to grade and compliant.
All right, and staying on playgrounds, moving down to the Doyle. We'd be, the Doyle, the structure itself, by our opinion, is in good shape. It's not due for replacement, but the playground surface, we'd be looking to replace that and make that a rubber playground surface. Based on the nature of the Doyle School and some of the population that it serves, although the cedar chips are and can be ADA compliant, we certainly want to make it, as accessible as possible. So I think it's really in our best interest to replace that playground surface with a rubber. Certainly makes it more accessible, for somebody who might be in a wheelchair or have other mobility issues. And I don't know, Joe, this may, cost-wise, we're looking at $100,000 there. I don't know if the costs if you've heard of any changes there, but.
No, not there. Believe it or not, out of anything on the planet that I thought would have been super inflated and very hard to get, it would have been playgrounds, but that turned to be the complete opposite so far this year, as
Really?
you're well aware.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. Moving to the Woodville. This was another item that was on the list last year, and they're looking to refinish the gym floor. You know, you can see if you were to visit that gym, there's some areas where there's been water damage to the floor. There was a water drinking fountain that had failed at one point and kind of severely damaged a portion of that floor. You know, it's, you know, that school was finished in the late 90s. And that's a big rental facility for us with the WBA. I think it makes sense to invest a little bit of money there to bring that floor up to snuff. I think it's just looking a little tired. The estimate there is $25,000. And then you'll see at the high school, at the updated scoreboard, Joe and I have talked about that. And it looks like we can strike that from the list. It looks we'll be able to handle that outside of capital. And that completes tier 2. Does anybody have any questions for me there?
On the Doyle playground,
Yep.
so the playground itself is in good shape. The play equipment, that's not something that's going to be needed to be replaced in the next 5 years, 10 years.
It does not, I'm certainly not a playground equipment expert, but from the discussions that I've had, you know, between my handoff with Bob Shiroli and talking to Doug and some other folks, you know, naturally Dennis Fazio as well, it does not appear to be something that would need replacement in the near future.
Yeah, we just wouldn't want to spend $100,000 on it and then in 5 years have to replace the whole thing again.
Agreed 100%. I think that this play structure is pretty recent. I don't have an exact date. I could get that for you.
But I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay.
The estimate for the Woodville floors seems a little high. Is it for 25,000 for the floor?
Yeah, so that, you know, that is it actually, that quote was from last year.
I don't have it actually. I'm looking at last year. While I look at this, I actually don't see it, but maybe it was 2009. I mean, fiscal year 20, not 21.
Let me see.
But that's okay. Anyway, so that was the quote that you got last year.
It was on tier 2 last year.
Tracy, to put that into context too, both Chris Pierce from my group and Bob, we ended up doing this to the Dalbear probably 3 or 4 years ago. I think at the time to do the exact same service to that gym, which is probably pretty similar in size, ran about 17,000. I'll see if I can find the quote for that, but I think that might be in the wheelhouse right there.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to stress, like Tim said, that gym is a real revenue generator for us in terms of rentals and facilities, as well as school related instances. So that would be a big help.
How much revenue do you generate for renting?
You want to take that, Tim, or do you?
So I can tell you from one, just to give you some perspective, from WBA alone this year, we've generated close to $30,000 just from that one group. I don't have a total number right here in front of me to tell you exactly what we, you know, in total have generated, but just to, WBA is a major customer of ours. Naturally, they rent a lot of space over a long period of time from us. But we you know, we have other, you know, renters like dance studios, and so as we get further towards the summer, you know, these buildings are very frequently rented.
And
Okay,
that
thank you.
the revenue also goes to support the custodial help that we need to maintain, right?
On site, yes, okay, thank you.
What did the Woodville playground end up costing last year? Do you know that offhand, Joe?
140, hang on, I can tell you,
Yeah, so this is in that same ballpark.
pretty close.
Hey, Tim, jumping back to the Greenwood AC units,
Yep.
is that something maybe we could do in 2 phases? Maybe the second floor first or the first floor and then the second floor? Or it maybe split that cost up?
I think that anything that we can do at the Greenwood in that regard would be a step in a positive direction. So yeah, I think if that's the way we needed to do it, we could do it. Naturally, I'd love to do the whole thing at once, but like I said, I think anything we can do there is an addition of value for the Greenwood.
And this is probably a Mike, more of a Mike question, but obviously you got 10 individual units for each classroom, but you have, what'd you say, 2 major units on the roof?
Correct.
Would you have to buy the 2 major units and then just do 5 classrooms? So the initial cost might be greater. And
Yes.
then adding the next 5 wouldn't be as much because you're not buying the big units. Is that, and that's probably a Mike question.
Yeah, I'm certainly not an HVAC expert, but it does seem like that could be a potential way forward.
What does everyone think? Would it be worth investigating, splitting that up to see if we can split the cost over 2 years? Or just deal
I
with
think
it?
that sounds like a very good idea. See what we could do to, it's a big number right now, but it sounds like an important improvement.
I don't know, maybe Tim asked Mike if we only did half the classrooms, what would he need on the roof? And
Sure.
if it's, and that cost, I mean, if he didn't just throw a number at it, if he's got, material costs for the units. And I would assume he would know what, whatever the tonnage is on each of those units, if it's gonna.
Yeah, and he had some recent numbers on hand because we had just done that unit in the administration area. So he should still have some pretty solid numbers on that. So I'll touch base with him tomorrow.
Right. And just have him get it over to Joe. That's all. Joe can update us the next meeting.
Understood.
Tell us, I'm sorry, can you tell us again how many splits you'll need?
So the idea is to get everything into 10 classrooms.
10 of
So,
them, okay.
yeah, so there would be 2, the way Mike explained it to me was there'd be 2 roof units.
Yep.
And then 10 units inside the individual classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, could those units will be the air handlers then, the blowers inside the classrooms?
Mhm.
Oh, I would thought they had to have other units out. Oh, okay. All right, so yeah, he's gonna need at least one of those rooftop units for the 5.
Right.
Maybe each of those is running 5. Okay. That. Gotcha.
Frank, what he'll tell you is that depending on what the tonnage requirement is for the square footage, will dictate how many outside plants he needs for that.
Yeah.
It's possible that doing this in 2 stages is going to add some cost to it. Any idea what that could be? I mean, there's going to be the,
Also some stress on the kids who are on the other floors who don't get it,
sure.
right? And teaching and staff. So one whole floor will get it and the other floor won't for a year.
Right. And the other thought is, the way of the world these days and the rising costs in this industry, we don't know what it could look like next year.
Sure.
If the committee remembers too, Bob presented something on this idea a little while back. Remember we were talking about just installing ceiling fans to get the air moving? I think Tim's group has come up with a much better alternative, if I was to give my personal opinion on that.
Joe, would there be any concern about the weight of the units on the roof of the old school like that?
No, I don't think so, because the one that we did in the administrative side, we actually mounted into the building.
Yeah.
There is also the option of pouring a housekeeping pad outside and creating, staging them tucked up against the building, with some sort of, fence type structure around it to protect them. So what it'll basically come down to is, the labor and how hard would it be to bring the conduit through the wall. That school's built like a tank. Is it easier to put those on the floor, to reach all the electric and things that they have to hit, or do they have to go up? So I'll ask Mike. I'm sure Tim will ask him the same thing, but I'll give you an idea on that the next time we catch up.
If there's nothing else I can, go ahead.
Nope, that's it.
Um,
I'm good.
All right, I'll skip down to the tier threes, and there's only two here, and it's still looking at playground surfaces. Dalbear, we'd be looking to do a rubber playground surface there. That would be for the playground that is in the yard behind Dalbear, because they also have another play structure that's tucked right into the side of the building. So we'd be looking at doing a rubber playground surface there. I did talk to Dennis Fazio about this. He said that it would, once you remove the wood chips from that area, we would notice that area is sort of on a little bit of a hill. So he said, before we would do the rubber surface, that he need to get that to level grade. But that's something that we'll be looking at in the in coming years. And then the next thing would also be at Dalbear, new kindergarten playground, which is that playground I was talking about, tucked close into the side of the building. That does currently have a rubber surface. It's just that the play equipment itself is aging and failing. So we'd be looking to update that. And that is the end of that. So I think, over the past, 2 years, I think a lot has been accomplished with help from the town, and we've made a lot of major improvements, which why, looking at this list this year, in comparison to years prior, it seems, while some of the costs may be similar, it seems like there's a lot, less major priorities and things that we absolutely have to do right away, which I think we're in a good place. And, as we move forward and continue to do some of these projects, it just, improves the quality of these facilities and as far as HVAC systems are concerned, I can remember my years at Wakefield High School and it being, 90+ degrees in a classroom. It's tough to pay attention when the temperature is so uncomfortable. So I think the more we can nail that down, the better experience that our students will have, and so I think that's a good way to head.
So Frank actually just sent me a message. The power went out in the building that he's in, so he's on his way to join me. So he'll be delayed for a couple of minutes. So he said he'll be lickety split, but.
Here's a chance to adjourn.
No, I don't think so. Can someone explain to me what a split AC is? I mean.
You may have
split AC
seen them in some buildings or houses. A lot of the newer houses will have them, and it's a rectangular piece that is sitting on a wall, and then there's a compressor someplace else.
Okay. So that,
Residentially, I've gotten them for $16,000 a piece. So I don't know how much they are commercially, but
I think some of the cost savings that Mike was looking at was whether or not, he would do some of the installations in-house. And I think
well, with the 16,000 I'm talking about is the cost of the
Big
unit
cost.
without labor.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. Joe, if you put the compressors on these, you called it a housekeeping pad?
Yep.
Which is I guess on the ground.
Yes.
Does that change you can add other equipment there too, like generators and that sort of thing, pumps and so.
Yeah. Basically, what else the housekeeping pad would just be is my group would just come in and pour a level concrete pad, probably pick it up off the ground a little bit so any water doesn't damage it, and you really just provide a footing for it to bolt into so it doesn't move.
Sure. Okay.
Hi, everybody, I'm back.
So Tim Christine is finished.
Okay, no, we could. Did everyone ask their questions? Everyone's good?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Everyone all set with questions for Tim? Christine?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Tim.
My pleasure. It was really nice to meet you all virtually.
Nice to meet you.
Joe, thank
So
you. as
much.
always.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
All right, take
All
care.
right, thanks. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
I'm always available if anything comes up too. If you have any questions afterwards, you know where to
We'll let
find
Joe
me.
know.
All right,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Is IT coming? Do we expect them?
I haven't heard from them, so I'm gonna.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, but he, on the list, what's he got? He doesn't really have a lot of stuff, huh? The IT?
Nope, his is the library.
Yeah, that was all mostly library stuff, right?
Which is just to that and then.
Oh. Anybody have any major concerns with what the schools presented? Phil's gonna complain about the 25,000 and should be in their operating budget. I didn't want to throw that at Tim.
Were we talking last year about kind of doing a round robin on the AC units? Kind of going through and picking a school a year to do, or was that just playgrounds and something else?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry, Dan. I believe that was talked about in the end, as maybe that would be something that the group would look at this year. I'd have to go back and watch some of the final meetings though to really dial that in there.
It's not a critical thing, right? It's just a thought as to how we would project out. So folks would have an expectation, okay, they put in 2 this year and we say, all right, we can do 1 a year. It might also be good for us to project years out for ourselves based upon some of our historical conversations. But it just occurred to me. That's all.
I think 2 years ago, sorry.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I was just going to say, I think 2 years ago, we talked about listing each building and each, everything from the boiler to the AC and listing the age of everything so we can keep better track of it anyway, right? Even carpeting, windows, all of it. Maybe how long if there was even a warranty on any of them as well.
Yeah, and that didn't get very far, I don't think.
I don't think we did it at all, no.
No.
And getting back to the gym floor, if they're making $30,000,
Yep, that sounds like a no-brainer, doesn't it?
yeah.
Do it.
I think that's through with all the schools, like with the high school, the Dalbear, the Woodville.
He said that was WBA revenue was 30 grand. And then he had
Yeah.
additional
And
from
they
D
rent from all-
Studios
they
and
rent from all the schools.
So it's 30,000 for the system-wide, school-wide.
school,
Exactly.
okay.
And it helps it definitely helps with the revenue on the weekends for the custodians to be there.
Oh, sure, yep.
Because they gotta be there anyways, so they're getting.
So,
paid.
of that 30,000, that goes, some of it goes to pay the custodians.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sure it would go to the custodians, obviously staff it, and then you're running the building for an extra day. Basketball, sometime between December and March, so the heat's on. I'm sure it offsets a little bit of the utilities too.
Mhm.
What is involved in recommissioning an HVAC unit that costs $25,000? What's the process?
So
Anybody know?
to put it simply, think of it like a tune-up for your car.
Sure.
So all of the mechanical parts would be evaluated. Anything with a motor or shaft that spins would be looked at to make sure that it's operating correctly and functioning, and then it's balanced. And then I believe it measures the airflow to validate that.
So I get that, but what about if anything needs to be replaced? So 25 or 20 to $25,000 is going to take care of any parts as well?
Good question.
It should, or some of it. Obviously, if you found out, that you had to replace a major motor, $25,000, you're not in the wheelhouse of $25,000.
Right.
I can speak to the operating line item for HVAC in the public works side of things. We would be equipped, like if we were to do this at the public safety building, for example, and found out that we needed $10,000 to $12,000 of parts to replace, that would be something we could absorb. If we found out that we needed a $75,000 major air handler, we would either have to be coming back to the committee, or maybe even something like going to the finance committee with an emergency on our hands. So I think the goal is to catch the fires while they're small and put them out when they're small and don't let them grow into, if it's an actuator switch that needs to go and it's a $70 part, that's a lot better than letting that go and compromising something further on down the chain, which is going to cost you, 10,000 or something like that.
So not to, I don't want to belabor this, but the logistics of doing this, they could, first of all, if we agreed to do this for 1 year, we're effectively saying that each year we're going to incur this $25,000. That's probably not outrageous. But to Joe's point about discovering particular trouble spots, the 7-year cycle means that you're going to have to, you could be inviting the problems, 3 or 4 years away that don't get addressed immediately. So, am I making myself clear? Basically, that a cycle of 7 years means that problems that are emerging that have to wait 3 or 4 years to be discovered are going to lead to more expense. So
it could be too long.
right,
Mhm.
could be too long. Rather than just doing a troubleshoot each year on each one or something like that, I don't know. Not sure that this logistically, whether this is the process that's supposed to follow.
I think it's certainly something we can keep on the table.
Yeah,
And the sidewalk machine, I think that's a good purchase for them, getting the one for the last 2 years. So they'll have 3 now. It definitely gets used and I know it's not something you can just do it. You can't move it around because everybody's working simultaneously at those buildings.
yeah.
And if they don't have their own machine, then they have to sub it out to another contractor who's gonna come in and possibly damage other things because they don't know where anything is.
Right.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's $30,000 and I can't imagine that they're gonna ask for another one, and I don't imagine the town's gonna need another one for a while either, so.
Okay.
So,
My only concerns is with the, it's a lot to put AC in the Greenwood School.
Mhm.
We went from the offices last year, now they want the whole school done.
Right.
There's no summer school. I can't wait to hear what Steve says on this, but Steve Mayo, but
Yeah.
that would be, maybe he's rubbing off on me a little bit there.
Or Phil, wait till Phil gets here.
Well, Phil's gonna want it. His kids, I think his kids are out of the Greenwood now.
Phil's
Yeah.
a proud Greenwood dad.
so back on the snow removal, what are the schools doing now?
So they basically maintain all their walkways and places that we can't get a bobcat or a front end loader currently.
Yeah,
So the junior high, they do, we don't have any machinery that gets up on top of the curb at all. So they do all the walkways in the front by the entrances, the loading docks, they clear out the pathways there. They'd have the same type of responsibility at the high school, which would only probably get trickier if they do indeed build a new building that is developed a little bit more in the campus style. So any of the pathways that people are walking across the property to, they would be removing the snow from them.
but are they currently doing that with just regular snow blowers?
Yes, with the
All right.
exception of the junior high school where they have that machine, they would be using a walk behind snow blower.
Right. So, I mean, the only flag that comes up for me, right, is that we bring on a $30,000 piece of equipment. What's going to be the ongoing cost to maintain that? It's going to need, if it's not cared and fed for appropriately, it's gonna need serious repair. $30,000 machine will need serious repairs, or it'll need replacement in 5 years. There is something to be said, I know a decent snow blower is, $1,500, but it's easier to replace a decent snow blower than it is to replace a $30,000 machine. I mean, I don't know if folks don't agree with that, that's, I'm not going to make a big deal about that, but just, we're adding, if as the capital committee, we're going to be continuing to add on pieces of net new machinery, we have to understand that what we're doing is we're also taking on future debt, the future need to maintain that. And we just have to, I think, be clear that we're getting the appropriate return on investment for that machinery.
Do any of these machines come with service contracts or maintenance contracts?
You can order them. I mean, you can certainly select that. Or you could choose to solicit that. So obviously the DPW has one of these machines, so our fleet maintenance division maintains it. So if it's not getting washed and greased after every time we use it, every summer it comes in, all the fluids are dumped out of it, and it goes through a PM. We would extend that same level of care to whatever the school department might have going on. Just like any of their other vehicles, we have no problem maintaining them. Our mechanics are, intimately familiar with it. And it even benefits us too. So there's some redundancy there too. So if they're in school vacation week and ours breaks, for example, we might be able to see if we can borrow theirs for a short period of time to get the public safety building open, at least until we can make our situation on our end a little bit better. If they're
But
washing,
currently they have what, 2 snow blowers, and the custodians go out there and use the snow blowers?
I don't know the quantity of the snow blowers that they have, but they would have something not much different than what your residential homeowner would have to remove snow.
Mhm.
When we purchased this on the public works side, that's how our building staff was going out clearing sidewalks. And if you remember 2015, the residential snow blower wasn't doing anything on any of the sidewalks around town hall.
Mhm. So basically it's a time and labor.
Exactly.
Efficiency, time, labor.
Yeah.
Anyone that's done snow removal, these machines, obviously, you're getting what you pay for.
Mhm.
But that's a great point, David saying, yeah, we're getting these great pieces of equipment, but 10 years from now, we're gonna have to replace these great pieces of equipment.
Joe, how many of these machines does the town have, does the DPW have?
We have one right now.
So we're talking about the school department actually having 2 of these machines. I mean, not to be petty about this, but we're talking about the tail wagging the dog here a little bit. I think David's point is a good one too. You're going to be dragging along some long-term burden of, repair, maintenance and all that, that you got to keep in mind. These things come with warranties, but the maintenance contract on them is a separate issue. So you got the town with one of these, school department with 2. One is great to be a backup for the town. Sounds like overkill.
Well, I think we could talk about that with every single line item we have, right?
Yeah.
So everything should have a warranty, and that's why I think we need that list by building, so we can kind of keep track of stuff.
Yeah.
Dan, if I was going to depreciate this asset with the rest of the fleet, based on the way that the building staff here uses it, I would say that you should get 20 years out of this machine without any major repair that would come close to the salvage value.
So just take it as a wasting, not a wasting asset in the negative sense, but basically it's going to decline each year.
It would decline each year anyway, but I think the useful life of that machine, in a sense, it's a one-trick pony, but what it does very well. But there's no reason, if you grease it and wash it and are paying attention
Yeah.
to the operator on it and they're not abusing it, you should get 20 years out of that.
So what's the, are we waiting for IT? What's the next step here? Because, I mean, this is a good conversation. Obviously, we'll come back to it when we go through our review.
Okay. Let's just jump on the playgrounds real quick. Are we all in a, I know we talked about this over the past couple of years, we all in agreement that we'll give one more this year. And according to everyone's recommendations, it seemed like it should be the wall. I'm comfortable going forward with that. So we don't have to go too crazy on it in the future meetings. Does anyone have any other issues with, I think the only, everything else is a tier 3. They want the rubber surface at the Doyle, but I mean, they're getting away with the wood chips now. I don't think that. What do you think, Joe?
I mean, not to step on their toes, I would think if that was mine, I'd probably say keep the wood chips until you replace the structure.
Until you replace the structure.
Mhm.
It just seems like it's gonna be replaced sooner than later, and then you're not gonna be able to save it. It's gonna have to all be replaced. Does everybody agree about the Walton, or is there any other concerns about doing the Walton this year?
Sounds right to me.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So Joe, you'll remove the rest from the list for the next meeting. What else? What did he talk about when I was in the black mode? What was the tier 3 stuff?
If I may, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's the Dalbear playground, so I think those are
Yeah.
later in the line.
Can we follow up on Frank's request for a walking tour on Tuesday? Is everyone agreeable to that?
It's coming Tuesday,
Uh,
next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday, our
The
next meeting next Tuesday. I talked to Steve today and Sherry about going on the tour and then using the meeting room upstairs here. They have no problem with that. I just thought it'd be a good idea. Really, over the last 3 years, we haven't gotten out of our chairs to see anything.
Yeah.
Not that we need to, but it's good sometimes to go and these 3 buildings around Joe's office, everything's right here. There's a lot of, I thought there was a lot of requests yesterday from Chris regarding repairs and upkeep. So I thought it was a good idea. Maybe look at it, then we can meet in person upstairs.
Sure. Yep.
That's all. I mean, and the only other thing, Steve and Joe were available all night, but if we wanted to look at it, if everyone was available earlier, obviously it would be in the daytime. We can do it at night, just, maybe a little harder to see stuff on the outside, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. I thought it'd be great. Obviously it'd be great if everybody could attend, but if only 3 people can attend, obviously we can't do it.
So 5 o'clock on the 8th.
Yeah, I was just throwing that time out there.
I can make it for 5:30. I've got meetings up until 5.
If you can do 5:30, I think we can make that work. You were the one I was worried about, if you were gonna be able to get there that early. All right, so Jeff,
Sounds good.
you think it's okay?
Yep,
Awesome.
I like it.
Work for me.
5:30, yep.
Awesome. Frank and Dan, yeah? Okay.
Yep, yes.
Yeah, I think I can do it. Yeah.
And we're just missing Phil. So I think we'll be able to do it. So this is great, because Steve said he'll stay for the meeting, and Steve's gonna have a lot of input for us. And we can ask him some of the other questions that Joe might not want to answer.
I'll answer any question.
Yeah, and beyond that, all right, so we will schedule that. We'll change the time till 5:30 next Tuesday, and we'll meet here at the town hall. I don't think, we reviewed the list last night pretty much in its entirety. I know Steve and Joe are gonna get rid of a couple things. Maybe we can wait for that to happen this week, and then next Tuesday, we can see what the number's down to.
Mhm.
Steve says we're still shooting for the 2 million. But it's flexible, but it still looks like we're gonna be able to hit that no problem, but.
And it's really not that bad this year, is it?
No, you don't wanna, I don't jinx.
I know,
ourselves.
really, sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
I think so.
Sorry.
Just in perspective, it started at the 3.8 and change, and then just removing the playgrounds that the group talked about, and then a couple of the items I mentioned last night. I mean, you're already below 3.5, so I think it'll end where we need to land.
Now,
So we can, like I said, we can wait, we can discuss all these, go through the whole list again next Tuesday, unless anyone has something that they want to get off their mind while it's fresh on their mind from the meetings.
are we gonna accept the minutes from last night, tonight?
I was gonna do that last weekend.
You were gonna do it when?
After we're done talking about, if nobody has any more
Okay.
questions about that, I'll go there now.
I mean, you know, if we're waiting for the next presenter, it might, we can just get some business out of the way. I don't,
We think he's coming?
I haven't heard from him. I would plan at this point in time, it's already a little after 8, I would say. No, I'll just extend the invite to him. But maybe when we're here next week, their building is obviously one of the buildings that we were talking about. So I'll just extend the invite to him to hang around and come in and talk to the group.
On Tuesday.
Yes.
All right. That would, we could get him off the list too on Tuesday. That would be great. And as Joe has said before, there won't be anyone else. No one else has requested to come in to talk about their item. So it's up to us to decide. All right. So everyone had a chance to review the minutes last night. They weren't anything special. I think I just threw 2 lines together, but motion to accept.
I move to,
Motion to accept.
All right, seconded.
I second.
All right, just show of hands. All right, thanks, everyone. So next Tuesday, plan on being here at 5:30-ish. And I think we're gonna get a lot done next week.
Sounds good.
Good,
Motion
thank
to
you.
adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
second.
Second, okay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
folks.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.